Good morning. We're going to call our meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a prayer. Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage. We may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from April 29th.
I will second the motion, having watched it and as well as read the minutes.
We have a motion second. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Next up, is there any public comment regarding our pending resolutions today? Anything for pending resolutions? No? Seeing none. Moving on to our resolutions. We'll start with Jeremy Cinco today, sanitary engineer.
Not used to being first.
Yeah.
Morning, everyone. I
Morning,
have
Jeremy.
three resolutions for consideration today. The first is amending an agreement with Shook Construction for design build services to provide construction plans and construct building enclosure over the existing Canby system at the Liverpool wastewater treatment plant. The second is authorizing cooperative agreement between the County of Medina and the Ohio Water Development Authority for the Bachtel and Branch Water Main Improvement Project. And the third is approving a settlement and payment agreement between the Medina County Board of Commissioners and Fetchco Excavating for the Fenn and Marks Road Water Main Project.
I'll make a motion to approve the three resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Next up, we have HR is hot. Oh, Nicole's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have one resolution for you today. It's approving our personnel changes. We have 4 new hires, 1 at JFS, 1 at SAS, 2 at County Home, 1 promotion at JFS, 1 rate increase at Transit, 1 rate correction at Sanitary, 1 suspension in Transit, 1 probationary removal in Transit, and 2 resignations, 1 at JFS and 1 in Maintenance.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Next up, we have Brett Thomas, our finance director. Morning, Brett.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have 11 for you, and we're going to hopefully get through these pretty quickly today. Our first one is expenditure adjustments for various funds. These are largely credits back to the general fund from various other grants that had been awarded. Our second resolution is a revenue adjustment for the county home residents for their monthly allowances. Our third resolution is the transfer for the gasoline rotary fund in the amount of $21,089.03. Our fourth resolution is the acceptance of the 2025 Unified Narcotics Interdiction Team subgrant from OCJS to the sheriff. This grant is in the amount of $198,988.11. Our fifth resolution is authorizing the submission of our TCAP grant for the next period. We'll find out what the award is for that when we receive the response back for it. Our sixth resolution is authorizing the purchase of 6,600 gallons of gasoline for the engineering center. As usual, Ports Petroleum has come in as our low bid at $2.15.15 per gallon. Our seventh resolution is transfer of county inventory between offices. This one is a printer going from sanitary over to our office. The eighth resolution is our excess property resolution. Our ninth resolution is expenses of county officials. We have 2 for the auditor and 1 for JFS. Our 10th resolution is our weekly bills in the amount of $1,379,725.07. And I do have one more for you, which is a uniform guidance policy to bring us into compliance with federal grant laws.
I'll make a motion to approve the 11 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Brett. Next up, Matt Springer, County Administrator, working his way to the podium.
Good morning. I have 5 resolutions. The first one's approving a settlement agreement. This is for payroll withholdings for overpayments for the clerk of courts. This goes back to an accounting error identified in 2021. The second resolution is authorizing the issuance of an RFP for the Medina County Jail. This is associated with our inmate telephone and communication system. The third resolution is accepting and awarding bids for the jail. This is for the 2 security platforms located within both of the general population areas. This would be awarded to Crown Commercial Construction for a total of $325,316. The fourth resolution is an agreement with Gardner. This is for the purchase of a blower, coil, and condensing unit here in the administration building. This is part of our 2025 capital improvements. And then fifth and final is approving an agreement with the City of Wadsworth. This is for the transit services for the 2025 calendar year in the amount of $30,000. As you know, it helps assist residents with medical appointments and other eligible uses.
I'll make a motion to approve the 5 resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion second, any discussion?
I just want to thank the City of Wadsworth for continuing to partner with us on providing transit services to their residents.
Also on the sheriff, the platforms, those were done as alternate bids, so we did ultimately decide to go forward with 2 at this time.
That is correct. So it includes both alternates
Yep.
in both general populations.
Great. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Next up, Economic Development. Brandon Gibson, I believe, is here on behalf of Economic Development. We have a few people here on behalf of Economic Development. I think he's handling the resolution.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Brandon.
Just one resolution today. It's approving the Community Reinvestment Area Agreement for Albrecht Incorporated. If you remember, this is the out parcel that we added to the CRA agreement that's on the Acme property on Route 3.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon. And then we do have a proclamation, so before we go into department updates, although I think we're leading off with...
Can I do my update first?
Absolutely. That's perfectly fine. Laura Toth from Senior and Adult Services. I caught myself there.
Hey, that's okay. I want to start with, finally, a little late, but that's okay. We have our 2024 annual report. Get that passed down. I'm going to go over some, just a couple of highlights. On page 4 of the report, you can see our report out of Aging and Disability Resource Center services. We had 1,165 individual contacts. That's more than phone calls. That's people calling in and getting assistance from us for a variety of things, mainly due to benefits, referral to other services, things of that nature. We provided 623 hours of benefits counseling and short-term case management. We provided over 200 hours of short-term case management. So that unit was very successful. If you go to the next page, page 5, I go over adult protective services. We received 504 reports of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or self-neglect. 184 cases were opened, and 165 cases were closed within calendar year 2024. On page 6, just wanted to point out the vouchers that we distributed last year at the restaurant voucher program, and that was 4,348. So we got those vouchers out there for people to utilize. On page 7 at the top, I talk a little bit about the Farmers Market Nutrition Program. We had 349 participants in the program, but the utilization of coupons was low, only 61%. When we did the paper vouchers, our utilization was up in the high 80s. So, and that's a statewide number, that's 61%.
Software problem last year, did they not?
Yes, and then there was delays. People could get a benefits card, and there were delays in that. So they have started much earlier this year. We already have 132 people as of last Friday that have applied, and the vouchers don't even come out till May 15th. So people are getting on it early, and we hope for a longer period that people will have those vouchers in hand, because then utilization, we hope, will go up through that.
Farmers market's starting pretty soon here.
Yeah,
so
it is.
got
It is,
super.
absolutely. So that's a really good thing, and we are helping people out just like we've done, just like we did last year, helping people out, walking them through the process of applying. Even if they're reapplying, they can call in and get some help from us. And then just on the back cover, I wanted to show activities. We had 956 people participate in day trips. So those are trips that we advertise and take, fill a busload of people and go on both gambling and non-gambling trips. So we had almost 1,000 people participate in that. We had 1,729 people participate in large group activities. So that would be like Oktoberfest, Senior Day in Medina, and 980 large activity participants in Brunswick. So that includes the Senior Expo and some big concerts they had up there. So I just wanted to go over that with you. Senior and adult, and first of all, and also I want to thank Joanne Mankey, who designs and puts out this annual report. It's just beautiful. It really is. When I used to do the annual report, it was like type stuff. I didn't have one picture, so this is like, I love it.
Yep.
Senior Adult Services were notified last week that their share of the Subaru Share the Love program will be about $3,000, just over $3,018 that we will receive in unrestricted funding. So again, that's something else Joanne did. It must be the Joanne report out day, but thank you. And then, as you were alluding to, May is Older Americans Month, and Medina County Senior Day will take place on Wednesday, May 21st. It is a Mardi Gras theme, and I wanted to invite up.
Can I say
Yeah,
something
go
first
ahead.
about the annual report?
Oh, please. Yeah,
Just
I'm
before
sorry.
we jump into that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It was a great annual report, but in the inside, you have the driving
Yes.
skills pad.
Yes.
Now, this was your idea.
It
Bringing
was.
them in. Now, it had state funding. It
Yeah,
was like
correct.
one time only, and I'll just point out there was a debate at the legislature at the time whether county commissioners and our departments would be wise in spending the money or whether they'd be better off sending it regionally, to which this case would be Cuyahoga County. And obviously, we fought very hard that the county commissioners, each county ought to be able to, and this is a great indication, is when you have local people involved and they can find us, and this is a great program, and I just want to give you credit, kudos.
Well, thank
For
you.
coming up with that and that great value. And the whole idea of the grant was to keep seniors in the home and active within the community. And if this doesn't do that, nothing does. Is making sure that their skills are up there so they're driving and they can stay at home and don't have to be dependent upon other services. So I just want to give you a lot of credit for coming up with that.
Thanks,
Before
and
do
we
the
hope
other
to do that one more time, just to explain what that is. That was a program to take drivers who are over the age of 60, and we utilized the driving skills pad out that they use for the Take Control program for teenagers. That's out behind the Career Center. And the sheriff's deputies taught them brush up on some driving skills, and they got to practice on that track, and it was very successful. We did it twice, and we hope to do it once again later on in the summer before
Super.
school starts.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
But, okay,
Sorry.
so I just wanted to invite up Marie Edmonds, who's on our advisory council and also chair of the Senior Adult Foundation, and also the newest member to our administration team, which is Kim Mull. Come on up. Okay,
Okay.
For us?
go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So we do have a resolution proclamation proclaiming May 2025 as Older Americans Month and May 21, 2025 as Senior Day in Medina County. So just quickly, whereas May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize and honor Medina County older adults and their immense influence on everyday life in Medina County. Whereas through their wealth of life experience and wisdom, older adults guide younger generations and carry forward abundant cultural and historical knowledge. Whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. Medina County residents are called upon to challenge the stereotypes of aging and dispel misconceptions regarding older adults in our cities, townships, and villages, challenges, whereas Medina County must take every opportunity to flip the script on aging, focusing on transforming how society perceives, talks about, and approaches aging to ensure that older Americans have the opportunities and support needed to stay involved in their communities, where they can feel like valued members and are honored for their contributions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Commissioners of Medina County, Ohio, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Older Americans Month and May 21, 2025 to be Senior Day in Medina County.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion, second, discussion.
It's gonna be good.
We are happy to be part of this. Please call the roll, Rhonda.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Thank you very much. Can we snap a picture real
That
quick?
would be awesome.
Great.
You guys in the middle.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Here, I was here. Change places
Oh,
with me.
okay.
I wanted Maria.
Okay.
the shorter person up here.
That's right.
All right, I'll grab your picture first, and then Joanne will get hers. So you're all.
Oh, at the same time.
Are you sure? That way they're looking. Thank you.
Look at Joanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any comments, additional comments on this, or does Marie or anybody else? Anything else?
I'm good, I'm good, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for being
Thank you.
I just want to thank the commissioners and again invite them out May 21st. I do understand that somebody's on vacation. I don't know who, but I heard somebody was going to be on vacation.
I'm out of town on the 20th. I think I'll be back on the
Oh,
21st.
okay.
So, yeah.
That'll be great. It's a really fun time, and it's a time for seniors to celebrate. And we hope to break our number. Last year was over 650, and we're pushing towards that 700. So,
Awesome. Mardi Gras,
thank you
huh?
so much for this.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do. Next up, we have Denise Testa. Everybody's not in their normal spot, so I'm looking in the wrong direction for folks. Denise Testa from our Planning Services.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have two resolutions for your consideration. The first is authorizing advertisements for bids for the Medina County Community Development Block Grant for the Randall Sherry Rose Street Improvement Project in Brunswick. The second, also authorizing the advertisement for bids for the CDBG project in Lodi for the improvement and installation of a sidewalk.
I'll make a motion to approve the two resolutions.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Do we anticipate any issues? I know the last go-round, we had some problems with one of the projects getting bids, but
Oh, that was the fountain project. So
fountain,
these
yeah.
are sidewalks and streets.
Probably
So
more
I think we're
players.
we're going to be good.
We'll
Good.
get more bidders.
We'll have a third project here coming shortly, but
good.
working on that one.
Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So for my report for our May Planning Commission meeting, that will be held at the Medina City Town Hall, or Medina City Rotunda is what we were calling it, on 132 Elm Street, or Elmwood. So that will be at 6:30 this Wednesday. We are reviewing a subdivision, two subdivisions in Medina, a subdivision in Liverpool, and four text amendments in the townships, and one map amendment. So we have a busy, pizza will be served if anyone would like to come. We also are continuing our development agreement public hearings this month. Our first one is this Thursday at 5:30 here in this public hearing room. We also are continuing with our Lead Safe Ohio program. We're still accepting applications, so if there are any residents who would like to submit a Lead Safe Ohio application for lead remediation, I would encourage you to do so. If you have questions, you can call me at 330-722-9291. We are also continuing our project with the PY25 Community Housing Improvement and Preservation Program, also known as CHIP application. We've had our first public hearing. We will have a second public hearing, as well as a meeting with the Housing Council to continue that application process. And we are partnering with Brunswick, Wadsworth, and Medina City to submit grant funds for $1.4 million. Last night, as I mentioned to Colleen this morning, we held our first Fairgrounds Strategic Plan meeting, which was very successful and very productive. So I'm looking forward to seeing that move forward. I attended the Black River Career Day last month and gave a presentation about interviewing skills, which really enjoyed Black River. It's always a great time. We also we'll submit our state historic preservation office agreement. We're going to resubmit that. Our first submission was for an amendment, but it's actually a new agreement. So we'll be going through that process as well. And I also attended the Medina Sea of Youth last couple weeks ago at Medina High School, honoring our fallen officers within our country. So, are there any questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have a commissioner's resolution. This is a resolution appointing Andrea Schroer to the Medina County Advisory Council on Aging and Disability. She will be representing Brunswick City.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion, second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Next up, public comment. Is there any additional public comment? We've had a lot of folks here. Noticing also we've got Marie just left, but we have a lot of attorneys in the room too. That always makes me nervous. So
It does make me nervous.
I sized that up when I walked in. I got a little anxious. So, anybody other than the attorneys have a public comment? Yeah, please go ahead. Come on up and please share your name and your comments. We'd need his address for the record too, or your name and address for the record. Yeah.
Okay. Name's Guy Hicks in Sharon Township, but it's 5660 Beach Road in Medina, Ohio.
Great.
Okay. So basically, I'm here to represent the Coalition of Concerned Voters for Ohio. And I guess they said that they've sent letters to all the commissioners in the state of Ohio for this. I assume you guys got the letter, and I don't know if you had time to read it yet or not. But on summary, though, it's just Ohio counties are struggling to afford voting machines. And as stated in the introduction to the County Commissioners Association of Ohio Handbook, Reference 1. Despite subsidiaries of the federal funding accounting, which I guess the federal government gives you 40% of the cost of the machines for the purchase, and additional annual costs that are included for training, on-call support, maintenance, licensings, and warranties on all paid by the county. These additional costs are especially burdensome to the commissioners, whose committees have low voter registration and turnout, and some results in citizen services being cut at the expense of funding the machines. Also, recent presidential executive order, reference 2, will result in the decertification of many voting machines in Ohio by this fall, with the likelihood that no federal funding will be available to subsidize their replacement. And that's Trump's executive order that was put there. As far as I know, Medina don't have those voting machines that are in that at this time. This is my understanding. And will result in the decertification of many voting machines in Ohio by this fall, with the likelihood that no federal funding will be available to subsidize their replacement, and this time for the county commissioners and the board of electors to have to take a closer look at the manual hand counting ballots as an alternative. I mean, many years ago, before we had machines, we did it all by hand, and I've never seen any problems, especially in our area with voting by hands. And also, it seems like a lot of times you got to verify the voting machines. You got to look at it, and you got to vote them by hand. I mean, you got to go look at it by hand, and you're spending extra money and extra time to do that at that time. So basically, we're looking at through the time and through especially this past year, people are looking at the voting machines, and other parts of the country, they found errors in the machines, and so it is a computer, and we know that computers have problems. I mean, they're easy and they're nice, but yet they're easy to access, and especially if you get someone that's smarter than us that know how to get into things. And a lot of people say, well, we look at the machines and there's no modems in them. Well, most of us don't know. We got modems at home because of, to get on the internet, and they're a big box. Well, an actual modem could be the size of a penny. You just can't look at a machine and say there's no modem in it. And so we, so to certify the machines, we got to make sure that the machines are looked at. And I know a lot of counties, they don't even care. LaRose, I mean, he don't even seem to want to look at the machines. He's just taking the manufacturer's recommendations and saying, oh yeah, they're fine. And but we as citizens, we don't know that. And we know the problems we have just with our computers and how often they fail. So basically, you know, that there was, you know, in the letter they went through the voting machines costs, and they brought up in 2019 the Monroe County purchasing the machines. You know, they spent what, $540,000 for machines. That included the hardware, software, training, licensing, warranties, and maintenance supports. And after receiving the federal funding of $203,000, the county was responsible for the other. And it's for a 5-year period too. And but you know, looking at the cost of that, and especially Monroe County, they got a lot smaller voting than we do here. I mean, we have a larger voting, but yet like today's voting, you know, how many people are really going to show up to vote? You know, we know that an off election year that very few people show up, and so you got that expense, that big expense, which it could be a lot smaller expense if you voted by hand, you know, if you counted them by hand. And they went through the county and the costs associated with it, and actually they found out through Monroe County that they would save quite a bit of money by you know, more than half if they actually counted by hand instead of using the machines over the time period. So we're just bringing that up to your notifications that we are looking at it, and we like to. And I didn't realize at the time that the commissioners have a big say in if you use machines or you don't use machines.
Well,
right?
do you mind if I jump in on this
Go
one?
ahead. Go ahead.
I've got a history with this. Obviously, I was around as a commissioner since the 90s. We had punch cards back then, actually, and that dates to the 80s and late 70s when they had the punch card, when we had the card system. But we didn't do primarily count by hand. So you're talking about something over 50 years ago that the county did. But I'll just point out, the counties, we pay the bills, but we don't define the machinery. In fact, it is largely since 2000. Since the election in 2000 and the controversy there, the federal government more and more has mandated that what states use. And the state has, over a number of years, defined the process of certifying these machines. The county pays the bills, but who defines it is the federal government has requirements, but the state. And so you have the Secretary of State, and we have a system in place, actually the Board of Elections locally is the entity that determines the machines and makes the recommendations. We just pay the bills. We do not determine that. And essentially, they just say this is what it's going to cost, and this is the system we've adopted, and the Secretary of State has the input, as well as there's a committee that approves all election systems. They have to approve everything and certify. The cost and accuracy, as well as speed, has always been a consideration for the committee and the state. So I think the idea of cost largely has been thrown at the county. In fact, it is the position of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio that the state ought to take over all the cost, because that's one of our largest budget items, especially over the last 20, 30 years. It's just ballooned. And it's only because of state and federal mandates, not at the insistence of local government or the county commissioners. So county commissioners have historically said, we would prefer the state to take over the state system or provide the funding for it, because they're already defining the equipment, the methodology, how it's done, what's required for each election, how many poll books there are. It's all mandated from the top. So we have very little say in terms of the system, other than we get to pay the bill.
Yeah, I would like to add too that the requirements do become an unfunded mandate on it, and especially in the state of Ohio with 30 days of early voting, and Medina County especially, we're consistently seeing, 35% of people who vote before election day. So the unfunded mandate on the number of machines that we are required to purchase also becomes detrimental to our budget, and of course, we could be using those tax dollars for something more efficiently.
And in deference, I think, to our local Board of Elections, their hands, to your point, are
Yeah.
essentially tied on those
Yes.
things. So
Right.
they're just saying, well, these are the dollars we need to meet the requirements that come from the
The
state.
Secretary of State, if you look at, he has to, every election or every year, he also provides, we'll say, his guidance, his directives. It has gotten thicker and thicker and thicker and more detailed over the years, and it really is a top-down.
And the
So
costs-
at this point,
the costs have grown accordingly. Yeah.
Costs us accordingly. So I mean, I understand, I agree, there's concerns, but I think also we have to direct it to the people that are actually making that decision.
Yeah, we gotta find out, so basically, the understanding is that the Ohio law does not mandate the use of electric voting machines.
But they have a system in place as to
is.
who certifies which machines are permissible. It is up to the local Board of Election to make the determination.
final decision.
Where their choices are, correct.
I like to
And we-
see today, that, when you voted, they actually did the hand poll,
Well, that was
the
mandated.
check in there.
That was mandated by Secretary of State because of a security issue with, I believe, was that Lucas County? Was one of them had a poll book that apparently had not cleared the memory before they added things. So therefore,
Yeah.
there was a cybersecurity issue.
Yeah.
And just in deference to security and safety, the Secretary of State mandated that. So the
Otherwise,
Secretary of State is the
okay.
one that directs
Okay.
those initiatives.
Okay.
And you
I
had,
appreciate
we chimed in, you had about 1 minute remaining
I'm
in
sorry.
your 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I will.
Oh, that's
you've
fine.
got a
I mean, I
few
got a
final
lot more, I probably
thoughts.
got a lot more than that. So.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, our request is that, the concerns of the voters, that represent asking the commissioners to review the total cost of electronic voting machines. Even though you bear the costs, you should be able to have some say into it somehow.
We certainly agree on that.
Yeah, we got to keep things local. And
Well-
that's what we're trying to do. And,
I think our preference is the state would pay for what they mandate.
yeah, if they mandate it, then they bear the cost. instead
Pretty
of
much.
us. And like you said, there's a lot more things in the community that we need to take care of.
Absolutely.
And then spending
100%.
on machines that, like, we go buy a computer, when's the computer going? It's obsolete the day you bring it home and turn the switch on. So commissioners, I appreciate your responsibility and working
Thank
with
you.
the community for the citizens of Medina County.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
Is there any other public comment? Next up, we have discussion session. So, I know we've got some things with economic development that we need to discuss. I guess we could start there unless there's anything else. Denise, do you have anything for that? Okay. Or you know what, Steve, your thing's on the top of the list for
Oh,
the
well.
smart meter policy.
Yeah, if you don't, actually, yeah, it came through my office.
Yeah.
I guess Jeremy's not here. I think he might have forgotten that we were going to talk about that. This has to do, I think you've seen the email, our smart meter installation. We've had that apparently a request to be excluded from that smart meter project. Apparently, we have others that are also concerned about the electronic connection to it. The problem is we switch over to it. My recommendation, we look at it, if we want to, an opt-out. But that's going to be a cost. That will be a cost because we then have to manually send somebody out to do it. Right now, we're trying to reduce costs in the water department, not increase. And with the smart meters, everybody's going to, they connect up so that way they can drive by, monitor it, and that. Individuals, I guess, have some concerns. They're also suggesting maybe potential health implications. But we need to take a look at it. Frankly, I mean, with the mind if you want to opt out, then there's going to be an extra charge because we're going to have to send people out to read the meter.
Absolutely.
And if you're a customer and everybody's doing electronic, and that's the way other cities and so forth, and we've invested a lot of money to switch over, and so is it all right, I guess with your permission, Jeremy and Matt and we'll come up with a policy regarding this.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Jeremy about that last week to
Yeah,
get just a
yeah.
little bit more information. He was going to confirm, he knows it can be structured this way. He was going to confirm that it, in fact, is structured this way, that the only data that actually gets transmitted from the smart meter is the device ID and the usage.
Right, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not an address. It's not a
We're not typing into
customer.
their Wi-Fi.
Right,
We're not
right.
spying on them.
He said he knew that
Yeah.
he knew it could be configured that way. He wasn't sure that it already was configured that
Yeah,
way. He was going to
right.
verify that.
Yeah.
But irrespective, I think that's part of a good smart meter policy is that it's not transmitting any identifiable information because the risk of exposure is lower. But also having an opt out, I think, is appropriate. And so, yeah, I fully support that as well.
But
So.
as to Steve's point, the opt-out is
With the
more
cost.
bodies going
Yep.
directly to
Right.
the home and
And-
on the property.
Sure,
Right.
and if they
Yeah.
want us, okay, we'll come out and manually read it, but there'll be a charge.
Well, in the nature of the conversation I had with Jeremy, it just to clarify, it's not going to require more bodies. It's just the work that they're going to be doing,
Right, the
which
hours.
could shift more to maintenance,
Sure.
which is what we need to keep the system up
That's-
and running.
Exactly. So I think that we'll take a look at it and try
yeah.
to justify. It's not going to be outrageous, but at least then, if you prefer not to, okay, here's maybe an option, but.
Right, but because we can do
I'm
that
not
with the
a-
personnel we have, subject to a user fee, I think that's an appropriate
Well, it
solution.
is.
I think I remember when Jeremy did present it, though, that it was going to reduce costs.
Oh, yeah,
Sure, to go to
100%,
this.
yes. Oh, yeah. That's why we're putting so much money
Right.
into it. I think we used ARPA dollars, if I remember correctly, to do that.
Yeah.
On smart meters, then how do they get the information from the smart meters? Is this a drive-by down the street, or are you transmitting it over the electrical lines?
It doesn't go through the electric, it's a wireless.
Wireless within the area. So you
Yeah.
have to be within proximity,
That's
so.
to say, till you drive by. and
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like other public utilities are already doing this all over.
Yep.
It's, yeah.
In other words, talk about it being transmitted across electric wire.
If you have
that's
a,
different
if you have a cell phone, they know more about you, corporations
Oh,
and
yeah.
the, they know more about you than what this smart meter, whatever do. It's just a simple reading, here's how much water you used in this period of time.
So
That's it.
you guys will work on a policy?
We'll work on a policy if that's all
Perfect,
right.
perfect, I think that's
Thank you.
great.
Yeah.
So next up is economic development. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So we had a request from NOACA for a letter of support for their comprehensive economic development strategy approach. And I read through the letter of support, and generally I'm on board with something that's just asking for us to kind of stamp our approval. The specific language of this caught me a little bit because it was a little bit more open-ended than I would have been comfortable with in terms of basically saying we give the commissioners fully support and our economic development fully supports the activities of NOACA and what they're pursuing. And it was not specific to a project. So Bethany, you fortunately passed that along to me. I'm open to your suggestion. If you think it's the support we should give, that's fine. We can modify the letter a little bit.
Well, I served on NOACA's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and that resulted in a document called the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, which then was filed with the U.S. Economic Development Administration. The next step in their plan was to apply for membership in an economic development district, to basically create the NOACA region as an economic development district. They call it EDD. Basically, it gives the communities within that district the ability to apply for federal grants and say this application is endorsed by the regional CEDS, by the Economic Development District. So in my mind, that's probably the main reason I think Medina County would have an interest in supporting the creation or the participation in the Economic Development District. The letter itself, it was a little odd when I read it because they wanted me to basically get the proper signature for this letter of support. And in looking at the letter, it was from only one of the members of the four. Medina County has 4 members, and so this happens to be one who's on the executive committee. And it just, it feels to me like there should be a more broad-based support rather than just one individual.
Yeah, technically, our code of regulations involves the county and the county commissioners.
Right.
And we define who represents the county.
That's why I sent it to her.
And so I think, yeah, the Board of Commissioners are I'll say by statute and also by the code of regulations, the members, there would have to be a signatory on this.
Well, and it also mentioned in the email from NOACA that one criterion in the process is that NOACA obtains commitments from at least most of the counties or other areas within the proposed EDD. So essentially they don't need ours because they could certainly have most without us, as they do on a lot of their votes. But that was the other reason I wanted to bring it up, because it feels optional. Now I contrast this with, I believe it was the last NOACA board meeting where there was some discussion of the NASA project and the potential for headquarters coming to Northeast Ohio, where they had, it was a matter of sorting out all the people who wanted to move for support of that and second that issue, because obviously everybody's on board with that. And when there's
and
specific,
that effort was coordinated by Team NEO, which actually is, economic development is their main priority. So that
right.
made a lot of sense.
and what I thought of when I read this, I thought, well, does the lack of our involvement in this put the region at a disadvantage for a major project such as, you know, the Intel project or something like that in the future? We've obviously been caught flat-footed on those things in the past. So I don't want to not take a step that puts us in a better position for something like that, but I also don't want to subjugate our local economic development role to the interests of the region.
I would recommend that we do a letter of support. I would like to propose to NOACA that the signatory is the Board of Commissioners. I'll be happy to redo their letter and
think that'd be
craft it
great.
to something that would be satisfactory to the board.
Yeah, and I think if the language of it has a kind of an emphasis on our participation and support of bigger regional projects while continuing to do the really good local work that we do somewhat on our own, I think that's the right balance.
Essentially like qualified support.
Yeah. Tepid support was the word I used, but qualified's probably better. Yeah, that's good too.
All right. Okay.
So with your permission, I will
Please.
recraft the letter and the signatory, and I'll let NOACA know that's the plan.
And I didn't think
if they don't want it under those circumstances, then perhaps we don't provide one.
Yep. And I didn't see there was a firm deadline, but yeah, I think that's great.
That's really good.
That's a good,
Thank you.
good path forward.
And I believe I'm going to let Brandon kind of introduce the next topic that we wanted to talk about from an economic development perspective. Brandon?
Different
one.
situation.
Jeremy, come back up there.
Please. And also, I think it's worth noting, this is not our 11:30 special meeting discussion that we have regarding a tax incentive district in the city of Wadsworth. Right. Separate issue.
Correct, and we can do this whatever way the commissioners please, but we just wanted to come in today because we heard some rumblings about some public incentives surrounding other projects, and we really just wanted to illustrate the way we're doing this with two different projects in the county. They're both in townships, two different development teams, sorely needed redevelopment sites with significant investment, but also face some public investment challenges. But we just wanted to introduce the development teams, tell you kind of what we've been working on and what those developments will look like. We've already had conversations with the school districts that will be involved, even though the public incentives that both development teams will be asking for, they don't require school board approval, but in typical Medina County fashion, we've talked with the school districts that are involved. We believe that's the correct way to do it, and that's the way that the commissioners have voiced their support for the way that we proceed with these type of projects. We've also talked to both townships that are involved, kind of on an introductory or cursory basis, just to tell them some of the key facts, and obviously some of the stuff that's in some of these projects is still confidential or trade secrets. They're both mixed use developments, so they have a commercial component and a residential component. But like I said, there is a public infrastructure component that presents a challenge to both of these. We can discuss them one by one, both together. I also brought Brian Cooper, who's a public finance expert, and the development team. So I apologize for bringing any more attorneys than are normally present at the meeting.
Maybe just do the overview how do you think it would be better to proceed?
We have both development teams here.
Okay.
If you want them to present kind of the specific generalities about their projects, or Brian first.
Let's lead with Brian.
Yeah, Brian's a lot smarter than I am.
Okay.
So.
Just to give us an overview of the actual funding of
For sure.
the way the funding process works, perhaps.
Maybe just a TIF discussion?
Yeah. Do you mind?
Sure.
Yep.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cooper, Baker Tilly. Thanks for having me. So, in general, and we've presented and discussed TIF before with the Commissioners. TIF is an economic development tool. It's widely used throughout Ohio. There's probably over 2,600 active TIFs throughout the state. And as far as the creation of TIFs go, counties, townships, and cities can all create TIF under Ohio law. There's over 12 different types of TIF, so depending on the development, the actual type of TIF could vary from project to project. And essentially what a TIF does is it captures incremental taxes that go to a specific fund. In this case, if the county were to create a TIF, a specific fund at the county, capturing the new property taxes associated with the incremental taxes related to a construction project. Those dollars are then available to finance public infrastructure or fund public infrastructure for an array of improvements. And typically we see TIF enacted to help stimulate or incentivize retail, commercial, or residential development. I'll pause there to see if there's questions.
It can be used also for industrial.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. The term and amount of TIF that can be created ranges from typically you see what is referred to as a 10-year 75% TIF, which is the longest in maximum amount of abatement that can be offered without having to enter into a school compensation agreement with the local schools. It's very common to see 10-year 75% TIFs. Other alternatives, TIFs can go up to 30 years. So we have seen 30-year 100% TIFs. Anything over 10 years or 75% would require a compensation agreement between the entity and the local school district. And then there's also the concept of a non-school TIF. This is a TIF that is over 10 years and 75%, but specifically carves out the school portion of the taxes to remain with the schools. So this is a way to do a longer TIF without impacting the schools and without having to do a compensation agreement. I don't have the specifics on the requests for both projects, but I know at least one project is requesting, has done their review and is requesting a 10-year 75 TIF to fund public infrastructure related to residential and commercial development. The other one, the developer has more details. We haven't worked all the way through it. But I'll pause there to see if there's questions on TIF before we dive into the projects.
The funding that's set aside, or the dollars that are set aside, are used for that improvement project.
Mm-hmm.
Is the funding capped then at the amount at the cost of those improvements, or is it just whatever accumulates during the length of that agreement?
Yep. So a TIF resolution would include the amount of the term of the TIF, the amount of abatement or abatement in taxes. It would also specify where exactly what parcels are subject to the TIF, and then it would also specify specifically what type of projects those TIF dollars can be used on. And further, it can be set up to only fund those specific projects up to a dollar amount, or there can be, a lot of times TIFs are created with a catch-all. So it specifies the improvements and then says, or any other public infrastructure that is needed or available to be used for that project. So many times there's a catch-all.
Yeah.
However, there is a provision that the TIF is in place. Let's say you put it in for 10 years. There is a provision that once the projects are funded and that it was originally created for, it can close and everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, because you think about it from the way this was kind of portrayed, is if we're trying to bridge a specific gap, I prefer that be maybe philosophically be the approach, that we're approaching it for this, to solve this problem that's project specific.
Yep. And once we hit the target, then it ends.
Yeah.
And that's a common way.
That's not atypical.
It's not atypical.
Okay.
All right, just, I guess more to that point, Since it is public infrastructure, who constructs it, and then ultimately who owns it?
Typically, it depends on how the development agreement. So,
Okay.
so first off, you've got a TIF resolution, we'll call it.
Sure.
This authorizes the TIF, and that's pretty much all it does. Then usually that comes along with a development agreement. In this case, it could be a development agreement between the developer and the county. You might have a development agreement also with the township, depending on who's doing what. But oftentimes I see development agreements set up where the developer takes responsibility to build the public infrastructure per the specs of the county in this case. And then once the improvements are completed, oftentimes those improvements are then transferred to the county if it's public right of way, this type of thing. Sometimes the developer holds onto it and it becomes a private road. That's not required, but that is sometimes how these economic development projects work. But if we're talking about public infrastructure, public roads, public right of way, 9 out of 10 times they're going to be transferred to the appropriate governmental body.
So, and you may or may not know, we're actually having hearings on development agreements for the first time in our county. We are. So this would implement something of that, require the use of that, an agreement. As to, as you said, how is it built, that it's being specs, who's in specs, who has the right of access. And
all of those
all
details.
those requirements are specified then.
Right, and those are typically specified in the development agreement.
Right.
The TIF basically...
I know it's about the taxing
you got it.
portion, but I just, okay, but it does reference and link to a development agreement.
Typically, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
the county could create a TIF on its own without a development agreement and use and
Utilize the existing.
and procure the project itself, fund the project itself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If there's not a private developer involved. I mean, essentially, this is creating dollars at the county level to use for infrastructure. The development agreement is the second step of that process when you have a developer involved that wants to or needs to do public infrastructure for a specific development project.
Okay.
Questions?
That was helpful. Other questions? I don't want to belabor it because I know we're not ripe with any formal discussions, but we've got a lot of folks here, so maybe I'll just say, does anybody else have anything else to add to help in the understanding, recognizing that we'll probably have further discussions when there's something in front of us, right?
Well, I guess to make it clear too, especially for those that are on the camera, we have a much more detailed project involving a TIF with Wadsworth that we'll be discussing at 11:30. And
10:30?
11:30.
Oh, we were told 10:30.
Sorry. So that's right now, this doesn't have, because these are more conceptual. The other one, those are much more specific and with a lot more details. But you're kind of a warm-up act.
Yeah, of course, this is subject to the commissioners, but I don't know if in either of the projects representatives would like to share anything about their projects in particular. I don't know if that's too early to do that or not, but we do have participants. They can speak to the project much better.
And that was why I didn't want to put undue pressure on anyone to expect we need specifics, but since we're having the conversation, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I can talk about the project first.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. Amanda Dick from Pride One Construction, 2211 Medina Road, Medina, Ohio. So we've been working on the project located on Pro Road, the Bohattie redevelopment. It's about 150 acres. It spans from Pearl all the way back through Reagan. Pretty infamous piece of land in Medina County. It's been a great project that we've been working on for about almost 2 years now. And we have a bit of a commercial component, about 15 acres along Pearl Road. And then the rest of the 140 acres is going to be 185 multifamily units and then 75 single-family lots. So we're going to break those multifamily units up into two different projects. So we'll have 87 and 98, and then the 75 single-family lots. Those multifamily units will be single-story and some two-story units. They will be developed and constructed and most likely managed by Pride One or its affiliates. If you have any questions about the project specifically, I can answer that. But Alex is the financial guy with all the tips.
I just want to thank Pride One for taking the initiative to actually for redevelopment that project. I mean, I date back way back, and obviously it was a Superfund site at one point in time, and had a lot of concerns. And have it redeveloped and actually to contribute to the tax base is awesome.
Yeah, it's been great to work with economic development, Medina Township, Medina County Planning. It's great to see that it actually have some legs now and us get moving.
What is the specific public infrastructure for this project that would use a TIF?
That would be.
I can get into that.
Good.
So,
Sure.
Alex Purvitt's a project management consultant. So I consult for Pride One on a number of different TIF, sales tax exemption, port projects in Ohio. So I actually have some handouts. Sorry, they're in black and white. Last minute, one of the first of them together.
Thanks.
So you guys can actually visualize.
All right, very good. Thank you.
You saw that glossy piece that we got from our senior adult services. You got
It's not
you got
quite that.
jealous.
It's not quite that. That's just kind of highlighting the overall project. I'm going to talk mainly about our TIF request. Our public infrastructure costs, which you can actually find on the page 8, kind of outlines the different categories of public infrastructure that we are estimating as of today for both multifamily area A and multifamily area B, which are also included in this project site. I won't dive into those too much unless you'd like me to right now. And this is moving targets. As the plan is finalized, these numbers will move around a little bit. But also,
Just for clarity, so it's a $5.2 million public infrastructure budget.
yes, that is where we're estimating right now, and that's not including certain like soft costs that might be included in that number, and also some of these categories may become private, in which case they wouldn't be covered by TIF. But I think we think that 5.28 million is a safe estimate.
Right.
And the earthwork component that's on both of these, that's tied specifically to the sanitary water storm sewer installation, or is that for the site in general? Is that like general site work or specific to the upgrades?
Laura, do you want to answer? Sorry.
I don't think it's been broken down to that degree.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay.
And that's why, it's premature.
question.
So
When we get to specifics, I would like it
Absolutely.
broke down because
Sure.
if it's just general earthwork, that's really precedent setting for then every developer to want to request that under a TIF issue. So.
Yeah, we can focus on the infrastructure.
great, thanks.
Aren't
you glad you went first?
Of course. So this is supposed to be a public TIF, so we're assuming everything here is going to be public improvements. So again, if any of these end up being private, they wouldn't be reimbursed by a TIF. And we are, so we're requesting a 10-year, 75% TIF, as Brian had explained. It will impact the schools for the first 10 years, but it won't require school board approval. And as Brandon said, we've had those initial conversations with the schools, school treasurer, and so we're kind of leaning on the Medina Economic Development Corp to help us lead the way and do it the way that Medina County wants us to get it done. So we're going to keep doing that, making sure we're doing things right.
Although it's not required, it will be very important to me that the schools are okay with this.
Absolutely. So just currently, based on our 10-year 75% request, we're estimating that about 6.2 million would be going to the project as a gross over the 10-year period. Now, that doesn't mean that's a $6.2 million that goes into the developer's pocket today. At a present value, that number is a lot smaller. And we wouldn't be monetizing this, so what we're thinking is that we would bridge these funds, like the developer would bridge the funds with equity, and then as the funds are available through the TIF, then they would be reimbursed. And again, as Brian explained, like the improvements are defined, so anything over that doesn't necessarily go to the developer's pocket. It could be capped at what we can pay for in terms of public improvements. And then during this 10-year period, I do have a breakout of the, and I'll share this too. This is, it's kind of small, but it does break out the different tax generation to each taxing entity. So the highlights, first 10 years, the school district will get 2.2 million. Over 30 years, we're estimating 13.5 million. For the county, first 10 years, 340,000. Over 30 years, 2,080,000. And again, I can go through each of these, but I will hand this out to each of you. So the first 10 years, there's still some tax generation to each taxing entity, but over the 30 years, you'll see a substantial tax generation for each taxing entity. And our goal from the beginning was to make sure that this project was mutually beneficial to all parties involved, and there's a lot of parties involved, of course. So that is all I had. Any questions? I know I said a lot.
It's a helpful, I think, preview of the discussion. Well, maybe this may be more of a Brandon question, or do we have any of these that are active right now in Medina County?
No.
We don't? Yeah.
No.
None that the county has.
Yeah, okay. Because this is kind of like to Colleen's point, it's kind of a case of
Precedence,
first
yes.
impression, so we want to make sure we're asking all the right questions and doing the due diligence. So we appreciate you guys kind of providing us some information, insight on the front end here. Katie, did you,
Brian wanted to add something.
oh, yeah, go ahead. Generally, this would be, this isn't a public comment. It's a discussion, but.
So Alex brought up the reimbursement mechanism, which I think is important. So what the developer is talking about is roughly making $5.2 million investment in public infrastructure. That budget and the review of those improvements still needs to be completed, but the concept is they're going to invest $5.2 million of their own funds into the project, which represents the public infrastructure. With the TIF in place, those incremental dollars will come to the county, and then there'll be, as part of the development agreement, a reimbursement mechanism. So to the extent the county receives dollars from the TIF because of the incremental build out, those dollars would reimburse the developer up to $5.2 million so that they can be reimbursed for the investment that they made on the public side of the project. So this is a nice way to get private funding of public infrastructure in advance, and then utilize a simple reimbursement mechanism to pay the developer back for the
That's
investment.
why I would like earthworks spelled out,
Yeah, of course.
to make sure it's part of public.
That's all I wanted to add.
In the phasing of this project, maybe I can answer, the phasing is you're going to do the commercial first? I am sorry. I'm just curious as to which coming first. But this would end up being subject to the county's, since it's a county water, county sewer, correct? For this, it would be under our development agreements then.
Yes. So the commercial, we are still working with large commercial brokers
Right.
to figure out who is interested in the space and all of that. So we're definitely a little bit farther along with the residential and everything. So that's kind of still up in the air of who exactly will be going in. So it's a big piece. So we've been working on it for a while with some commercial brokers.
But the public infrastructure benefits both the commercial and the residential.
Yes, correct.
Correct, okay.
Any other questions on the project?
No.
Awesome.
There's one clarification. Amanda was talking about the plan, and she mentioned single-family for-sale homes, and that's not part of the TIF request that we're talking about today. We may come back with a separate one, but right now we're talking about for rent multifamily units in those projections there.
Okay.
And those are, this is all in the township.
Correct.
Okay. Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
helpful.
Thank you for your
Good,
time.
great, thank you.
And just before the other development team comes up, I just wanted to answer Commissioner Sweattick's point about the schools. When I had a discussion with the schools before we even discussed any specifics of either of these projects, I talked to them about the impact from the addition of students to the district and doing a cost-benefit analysis of what is it going to cost for additional students to be in the district and what are these developments going to bring in. And I promised the school district that they would see any of the specifics before anybody else does. So
I think too, when you look at, well, it depends, of course, the phasing and so forth, but even it's going to take years before families with children would actually be able to move in there.
I think that's correct.
And right, and so basically as you phase it in, and by the time you get to that, the 10 years will be over, and then that full amount will start going to the schools.
Correct.
So it's not a 30-year like we're talking about it then upstairs.
Significantly different.
Yes, significantly different.
Correct. I think it is, and the level of investment when we see some of these specifics, the level of investment that are going to go into these sites will provide significant tax benefit.
I think it's an interesting concept contrast because we're talking about 5.2 million 10-year versus upstairs, or this next one is it's a 5.8 million 30-year, which is
And the
yes.
number of
units
units
right.
and
Yeah.
yes, being
decidedly different.
And we have a commercial element with both of these projects, which I think is
sure.
also important.
Well, that I guess that's the point.
For sure.
Basically, is for the tax, and that's why I think the cost of services aspect is very important.
For sure.
In these considerations.
I'll let Katie go though.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Katie Lancianis. I'm with Gables Management Company, and we're a local developer and have been working on a project in Montville Township. It was by design. I let everybody else go first because we're very similar in our paths that we're working here. We have a 92-acre site that we've been working on for about 2 years. We've been working with the township and rezoning in Montville Township. And we have a mixed-use overlay district on it. There's a residential component and commercial component. Along on the commercial side, there's also apartments. So similar to what Pride One is doing right now, our residential for sale product is not part of this TIF request that we're asking. I did not come with specific numbers. We'll be back, don't worry. But we're looking around 4 to 4.5 million, 10 years, 75%, and we're pretty excited. We've already started on the retreated cobblestone, which is an age-targeted product. So it's tax dollars are going to be coming to work, but with very little to probably no impact on the school system whatsoever. So we're looking at enhancing property values there, bringing up the value. On the other side, we're looking at commercial projects, pretty premature on announcing who's going to be there. But we are expecting it's about 60 acres altogether that will be commercially developed there. And part of our infrastructure requirement is to run a road alongside, parallel to Route 3. And that would be a commercial road that would be ultimately taken over by the public entity there. But we would front the funds going in and then, similar to what Brian had mentioned, recoup that over a 10-year period. So I just wanted to introduce myself, and I will have lots of pretty pictures and all kinds of good information for you later, but just as an introduction that we've been really excited. We've been working with planning, we've been working with economic development, with the township, and everybody has been welcoming us with open arms and excited to present this project.
And yours is part of the JED, right?
It is part of the JED, yes,
Yes.
exactly, yep. So any questions?
We're going to let you off the hook, I guess.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just to cap that off, to show that there's different challenges with each project. Obviously, both in townships and are both similar, that they have a residential and a commercial component. But we do have the JED factor in Montville Township that we don't in Medina Township. But I just wanted to say that both of the developers have been great to work with. We don't mandate any of the developers in Medina County to work with us, but we usually suggest if you do it this way, you'll probably be a little bit more successful because we know what the public entities want, what the schools want, what the commissioners want. So we don't have any specific request for you guys today other than we keep working on this the way we have been and eventually get to the point where we drop a TIF agreement and development agreement that Brian will have. That way you guys can consider the actual specifics.
I want to point out, under the JED, correct me if I'm wrong, there is an income tax that's collected as well, and the benefits go to the JED itself.
Correct.
Which also includes the township.
Correct. The southern parcel in this development will be excluded from the JED. The northern parcels, which is
Would
the
be,
commercial
right.
and the apartment, would be included in the JED and would
Right.
generate income tax. Correct.
Right. So the impacted township benefits from that.
Correct.
Okay. Very good.
Also mentioning some of the challenges in Montville Township, you didn't mention the Mary Pulowski factor. Sweet, sweet woman, but she does create some challenges.
He's going to be in
Yeah,
big
it doesn't
trouble
get
tonight.
To
be a tough sell.
To not divulge any specific conversations, Mary Pulaski has been great to work with,
Good,
and
that's-
she's an asset for Montville Township.
No, well, everybody
And for
knows that.
those who don't know, it's Aaron's mother-in-law.
As I think we've mentioned before, the genesis of the JED, if you will, goes back to a cost of services study over 20 years ago, and the idea of evaluating the cost of services and then finding some way to capture those cost of public services in the development and still promote the development. And the township, Montville Township, has been very, as well as the city of Medina, very forward in working together.
And there, and here's a perfect example, I think, of a development that probably happens anyway, that they benefit from because they had the foresight to create it when the opportunity presented itself.
Exactly
So,
right. Yep.
I think that's a win-win, and I'm, as a resident too, I think that's good for everybody, so,
Yeah.
that they did that. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Pride Run folks, anything else to add? We'll look forward to seeing you guys back again soon, too. Thanks for the information. So, yep. Okay. Anything else for discussion session?
I wanted to bring up something.
Sure.
I just want to, we received copies of the Voices of the Revolutionary War. The Historical Society received a America 250 grant, Ohio, for this. Copies will be available. Actually, you can get a PDF copy from the library. The physical copies that are being paid for by the grant, all elementary schools in the county, all county libraries and their branches, all museums in the county, the cities, villages, townships, offices in the county will also receive this. It was great to see this committee come together under the leadership of Medina County Historical Society, Brian Farron, and their group of people did a lot of original research. This is not just a duplication of stuff that's been elsewhere. They had original research, and of course, original illustrations by Richard Doyle and Kathy Krause, who did a good job illustrating it. So it'll be available out there. Just want to tell them publicly what a great job they did putting this
Yes.
together.
It really is a
If it's original research, this was tough to come up with those Revolutionary War veterans and verify not only what their service record was, what they actually did before they got here, and of course, how they eventually ended up, I'll just say, I won't say residing. Sometimes residing here, sometimes they just got buried here. So it's because their family was already here. But this is a great stories, good stuff, and it's a good original history. I just want to thank them for that.
Yep, for sure.
And the other one out is a plug, because it's about politics. Issue 2 on the ballot today. If you haven't voted, please vote. This is about local roads and bridges and sewer and water. This is a state-administered program oversight, but you have local input, and it's local decision makers that make that determination where that money goes and what projects have priority. There hasn't been a community that has not, in this Medina County, has not received this money before. This is not a tax. It certainly is go through a bond program, and it has nothing to do with Brown Stadium. Thank God.
Matt, did you have anything else? No? Okay. John, nothing? Denise, we're good? Okay, the other announcement I wanted to make, we alluded to it, we do have an 11:30 meeting to discuss the City of Wadsworth plan development. We are going to be moving that upstairs to balcony room B. It will not be, obviously, we're in balcony room B, it won't be broadcast, but it is a public meeting, it's in balcony room B, so if you show up here, I think we're going to have signs up just to redirect folks upstairs. But just from some of the technological requirements and space requirements, that was the move. So that will be at 11:30. It is a separate special meeting of the commissioners for that discussion specifically. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that before we wrap up.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.